Tasmanian University Boat Club in lane 5, Nudgee College then in lane 3, and also close still for third place between University of Queensland Bundaberg on the far side of the course and Corio Bay in lane 4 in between our leading two crews. Just over 500 metres now to race in the final of the under-17 men's double scull. This title was won by the Mossman Rowing Club last year, so we will have a new champion this time around, and still very hard to separate Nudgee College and the Tasmanian University Boat Club as they've swapped every 500 metres. Nudgee led after 500, the Tasmanians after 1,000, and Nudgee back in front now at the 1,500 metre mark. Patrick Long and Lucas Maddock, but only by 0.77 of a second. So Nudgee first in 5:16.67. The Tasmanian University Boat Club, lane 5 there in second place. And a fair margin now back, almost 7 seconds, in fact, to lane 1. Still Harry Routh of Bundaberg and Kai Duplessis from the University of Queensland Boat Club holding on narrowly to third place ahead of Corio Bay's Noah Hootsma and Xavier Hall-Sullivan. So those two racing for the bronze medal, it would seem, ahead then of lane 7, Cathedral, Sean Keogh and Brendan Walsh. And also lane 6, Cranbrook, Jack Henderson and Jack McCaffrey. And lane 8, Somerset, Declan Thew and Lockie Munro. But it's at the head of the field, lane 5, the Tasmanian University Boat Club. Lane 3, Nudgee College. It's still Nudgee with their boat in front here with a couple of 100 metres to race. And you can see behind them too that race for the bronze medal unfolding between Corio Bay and the University of Queensland on the far side of the course. But Nudgee College, Patrick Long and Lucas Maddock first and fourth in the individual event ahead of Lucas Wigston and Chris McGuinness-Terry from the Tasmanian University Boat Club. And the Nudgee crew does look to just be sneaking slightly further in front as they approach the closing strokes now of this race. Nudgee College from the Tasmanian University Boat Club with only 50 or so metres to row now for Patrick Long and Lucas Maddock of Nudgee, coached by John Bowes in that very successful program up in Brisbane. And Nudgee College will take the title of the under-17 men's double scull by a couple of lengths from the Tasmanian University Boat Club across now in second place. Third will be a great race from the crew on the far side. Lane 1, they'll hold on. Routh and Duplessis of UQ and Bundaberg for the bronze medal. Fourth will go to Corio Bay. Fifth, I think, Cranbrook just ahead of Cathedral. And then the crew from Somerset College in lane 8. And also back in the field, lane 2, the crew from Griffith University Surfers Paradise, still with a couple of 100 metres to race.
And the unofficial results of under-17 men's double scull race 336. First, Nudgee. Second, University of Tasmania. Third, University of Queensland Bundaberg. Fourth, Corio Bay. Fifth, Cranbrook. Sixth, Cathedral. Seventh, Somerset College. Eighth, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. The presentation of the medals for the Under-17 Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Rob Prescott, Executive Officer for Rowing Tasmania. In third place, and our bronze medalists, Brisbane and GPS Commercial, Charlotte Jenkins and Jessica Kurgenow. Coached by David Dancer and Ben Spitz. In second place and silver medalists, Toowong Rowing Club. Kirsten Villajon and Sophie Gerber. Coached by Andrew Gerber and Alex Field and Harry Norris. And the gold medalists and the Australian champions for 2017, Somerville House. Laura Chancellor and Ella Hudson. Coached by Reese Jones and Oleg Shishkin. Please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists. And we have a start in race 337, the under-19 women's coxless fours. Lane 1, Kinross Wallaroi. Lane 2, Brisbane and GPS. Lane 3, University of Queensland, Adelaide. Lane 4, Sydney, Lower Clarence. Lane 5, University of Queensland. Lane 6, Toowong. Lane 7, Griffith University, Surfers Paradise. Lane 8, Loreto Kirribilli.
And well through 500 metres in the final of the under-19 women's coxless four. The University of Queensland, the defending champions in this event, and a very good chance of going back-to-back. They're strongly represented in the leading two crews, in fact, which have skipped clear on the rest of the field. It would be University of Queensland lane 5 from the composite crew in lane 3. Call for a car to be removed urgently, please. There's a car and a trailer, a Toyota Land Cruiser, parked in P4 where it is blocking access. It is a South Australian registered car, BT1870. BT1870, a South Australian Toyota Land Cruiser with a trailer, parked in P4. If that is your vehicle or you know whose it is, can you please arrange for it to be removed immediately? Continuing down now on towards the 1,000-metre mark in the final of the under-19 women's coxless four. And it would still be the crew, the straight University of Queensland crew in lane 5 of Hilary Ballinger, Phoebe Robinson, Annabelle Needham, Georgia Warmington, coached by Ned Drayden, that lead the field through the halfway mark by almost 2 seconds now on the composite University of Queensland and Adelaide crew in second place. And it was Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise, 3.6 seconds further back in third. Kinross Wallaroi behind them. Then Toowong, Sydney and Lower Clarence, Brisbane and GPS, and Loreto Kirribilli. Fairly close between the minor placings, but those top two crews certainly have skipped clear. University of Queensland lane 5 and the lane 3 combination, which is Eliza Gray from the University of Queensland, Ella Bramwell from the Adelaide Rowing Club, Holly Gall from UQ, and Maddie Whiteman also from UQ. That crew also coached by Ned Drayden. Behind them in third place, it would be the lane 7 combination, Griffith University, Surfers Paradise, Hope Nixon, Alexandra Finlay, And Jess Scott and Lukey Smith, who combined yesterday to win the under-19 women's Coxless pair, I should say. Jess Scott and Lukey Smith now racing in the 4 for Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. That crew coached by Kane Ramon and Sean Carolyn over in lane 7, and certainly looking strong, at least for the bronze medal at this stage. Ahead then of Kinross Walleroy over on the far side of the course. Anna Williams, Scarlett Hamblin, Jocelyn Date and Megan Kennett, coached by James Smith, Kim Mackney and Lauren Dearman. Jocelyn Date was a silver medalist in the under-19 women's Coxless pair yesterday. So plenty of form in the Kinross Walleroy boat as well. But it's still the University of Queensland, lane 5, leading this race. And they look to have extended that margin now out to more than a length over the chasing pack as they go across the 1,500 metre mark now in first place. University of Queensland, lane 5, Hilary Ballinger, Phoebe Robinson, Annabelle Needham and Georgia Warmington. And it's almost exactly 3 seconds, about a boat length to University of Queensland and Adelaide in lane 3. Eliza Gray, Ella Bramwell, Holly Gall, Maddie Whiteman in that second place crew. And it continues to be Griffith University Surfers Paradise in third place. The crew containing Jess Scott and Lukey Smith, the under-19 women's Coxless pair champions, along with Hope Nixon and Alexandra Finlay over on this side of the course in lane 7. And we had Sydney and Lower Clarence 4th, Toowong in 5th, Kinross Walleroy 6th, Brisbane and GPS 7th, Loretto Kirribilli in 8th place as they approach the final 250 metres now, and still it is the University of Queensland lane 5. The comfortable race leaders by just over a boat length it would be from UQ and Adelaide lane 3. And still Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise doing a good job at lane 7 now, maybe moving up slightly on our second place crew, and the Sydney composite crew, Sydney and Lower Clarence in the centre of the course, are really getting into their work in the closing strokes as well and trying to make an impact on our top 3, but still they're in 4th place at this stage. Lauren Lyon, Crystal Piper, Tessa Mappelbeck and Georgia Bradley, coached by Lachlan Carter, Harold Kratz and Karen Saunders, the Sydney crew, but it's still University of Queensland, lane 5, looking to go back-to-back in this event. The crew in lane 3 is making some ground on them in the closing strokes, but still sits probably half to 2/3 of a length behind. So it looks as if the lane 5 combination will do enough here to get across the line. Ballinger, Robinson, Needham and Wilmington, and they win the under-19 women's Coxless 4 for the University of Queensland. Second place, lane 3, is UQ Adelaide. And third place, lane 7, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. Then it is that Sydney Lower Clarence composite crew in 4th place. 5th will be lane 1, Kinross Walleroy, just ahead of Toowong in 6, Brisbane and GPS in 2, and then Loretto Kirribilli, lane 8.
So the unofficial results of race 337, the under-19 women's Coxless 4. First, University of Queensland. Second, University of Queensland, Adelaide. Third, Griffith University Surfers Paradise. Fourth, Sydney Lower Clarence. Fifth, Kinross Walleroy. Sixth, Toowong. Seventh, Brisbane and GPS. Eighth, Loretto Kirribilli. The presentation of the medals for the Under-17 Men's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Murray Stewart, CEO, Rowing Queensland. The third place and bronze medalists, University of Queensland, Bundaberg. Harry Roth and Kai Duplessis. Coached by Andrew Clatworthy and Paul Webb. Second place and silver medalists, Tasmanian University. Lucas Wigston and Chris McGuinness. Coached by Mark Stott. And our gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, St Joseph's Nudgee College, Patrick Long and Lucas Maddock, coached by John Bowes and Ray Smith. Please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists. And we have a start in race 338, the under-19 men's coxless 4. Lane 1, Banks. Lane 2, Brisbane Grammar. Lane 3, Geelong Grammar. Lane 4, Toowong. Lane 5, Mossman. Lane 6, Toowong. Lane 7, Launceston. And Lane 8, Mercantile Composite.
The under-19 men's coxless 4 are approaching the 500-metre mark. In fact, they've just gone through that point now. And it is Toowong, lane 4, our leading crew, 1:33.56. But very close in the opening quarter of this race. Mossman second by 0.8 of a second and 0.06 back to Mercantile in third place. And just over a second to Banks in fourth. So around about 2 seconds separating our top 4 crews, and then equally close behind them, Toowong lane 6th in 5th place, Launceston in 6th, Geelong Grammar and Brisbane Grammar there as well. But the field yet to really sort themselves out in this under-19 men's coxless 4. It is narrowly the 2 crews in the centre lane. Toowong from Mossman in the early stages of the race. In lane 4, the Toowong crew is Jethro Gifford, Tom Williamson, Matthew Reedy and Chris Thompson. Coaches Kieran Dwyer, Alex Field and Paul Pettigrew. And alongside them, narrowly in second place from the Mossman Rowing Club here in Sydney, Peter Brongo, Björn Ungermark, Felix Dado, Daniel Samus, coached by Matthias Ungermark, the Mossman crew there in lane 5. And a great race behind them, Mercantile lane 8 and Banks lane 1 contending certainly for third spot at this stage. And it still looks to be close as they head up towards the 1,000-metre mark now of this race, the under-19 men's coxless 4. This race was won last year by Sydney University Boat Club, but they don't have a crew in this final, so we'll have a new champion once again, and it's the Mercantile combination on lane 8, or the Mercantile composite combination, in fact. Mercantile, Haileybury and Melbourne University, who are now our race leaders, and they've opened up a reasonably substantial lead in the context of this race, almost just over 2.5 seconds from the early race leaders. Toowong lane 4 in second place and Mossman lane 5 now third. Banks over on the far side of the course, still very much in contention for a medal in lane 1. They're back in fourth place ahead of Toowong lane 6, Launceston lane 7, Geelong Grammar lane 3 and Brisbane Grammar lane 2. But our new race leaders over in lane 8, the grandstand side of the course, Benjamin Keller from the Mercantile Rowing Club, Ethan McCoach from Melbourne University, Roland Crantock from the from Haileybury and Maximilian Hanna from Mercantile. That composite crew coached by Richard Van Houdonk and John Saunders. And Mercantile, you can see closer to the grandstand side of the course, certainly showing up well clear of the crews closest to them. But over in the centre of the course, still certainly Toowong and Mossman having a good race there in the centre lanes. And right across on the far side, Banks, under the Victorian crews, still very much in contention. John Polinak and Nicholas Moody, who combined for 5th place in the under-19 men's pair yesterday, along with Connor Knight and Gavril Gurovic in the Banks crew over in lane 1. So our leaders now approaching the 1,500 metre mark in the final quarter of this race, and it is still Mercantile. The Mercantile composite combination, Mercantile and Melbourne University, along with one athlete from the Harlebury School in Melbourne in lane 1 who lead this race, and they've extended it slightly further now, 4:53.59 their time through 1,500 metres, and they've got 3.3 seconds on Toowong in second place. Toowong crew, Gifford, Williamson, Reedy and Thompson, just ahead still of Mossman, Brongo, Ungamak, Dado and Samus. Those two crews in the centre lanes, Toowong and Mossman, have had a great battle right the way down the course. We thought they might be fighting out for the gold medal, but Mercantile lane 8 have jumped ahead of both of them, and that may now be the race for the silver medal instead. Launceston lane 7 also joining in the battle in the closing stages. They're up to 4th place now. Dickenberg, Ryan, Barrett and Gillingham, the crew from Launceston, and Banks on the far side just look to have dropped off the pace a little bit now, and may well have in fact been overtaken also by Toowong lane 6 and Geelong Grammar and also Brisbane Grammar. But a race in 4 on this side of the course. The Mercantile composite combination leads this very fast finishing crew from Launceston lane 7 who are charging home. A great view of this in the grandstand here of the Sydney International Regatta Centre as these crews race for the medals. Toowong are responding to with Mossman alongside them and trying to move back on our leaders from Mercantile and Melbourne University. Launceston still 4th but moving fast. Mossman just trailed Toowong, and still it is on this side of the course. Mercantile, Harlebury and Melbourne University with their boat ever so narrowly in front. Toowong closing on them with every strike but won't quite get there. Mercantile, Melbourne Uni first. Toowong just from Launceston 3rd. 4th goes to Mossman. 5th will be Banks on the far side of the course. 6th will be lane 6, the crew from Toowong, followed home by Geelong Grammar in 3 and Brisbane Grammar lane 2.
The unofficial result of race 338, the under-19 men's Coxless 4. First, Mercantile Composite. Second, Toowong. Third, Launceston. 4th, Mossman. 5th, Banks. Toowong in 6th. 7th, Geelong Grammar. And Brisbane Grammar, 8th. The presentation of the medals for the Under-19 Women's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Murray Stewart, CEO, Rowing Queensland. 3rd place and bronze medalists, Griffith University Surfers Paradise Rowing Club. Bow Hope Nixon. 2-seat, Alexandra Finlay. 3-seat, Jess Scott. 4th seat, Lukey Smith. Coaches Kane Raymond and Sean Carlin. Second place and silver medalists, University of Queensland, Adelaide. Eliza Gray, Ella Bramwell, Holly Gall, and Maddie Whiteman, coached by Edward Drayden. The gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, University of Queensland. Hilary Ballinger, Phoebe Robinson, Annabelle Needham, Georgia Warmington, coached by Edward Drayden. Please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists. And we have the start of the under-19 men's Coxed Fours. Race 339. Lane 1, Toowong. Lane 2, Canberra Grammar. Xavier in lane 3. Lane 4, Geelong Grammar. Newington in lane 5. Lane 6, Geelong College. Lane 7, Mossman. And Sydney Boys High in lane 8.
And they've just come through the first 500 metres now in the final of the under-19 men's Coxed Four. And it was the two Geelong schools who lead this race. Geelong Grammar lane 4, Geelong College lane 6, first and second at this stage, 2.25 seconds between them as they went through the first 500 metres. There was Geelong Grammar lane 4 in 1:36.74, our race leaders. It's the crew of Daniel White, Oliver Arter, Oscar McLaughlin, James Heath, and Jemima Jamison, the cocks of that crew, coached by Aaron Tremall. And second place, their old rivals from Geelong College in lane 6, Ian Bell, Jack Thornton, Oscar Malone, Lachlan Sutherland, and Edwina Dory, the cocks of that crew, coached by Andrew Cleary. So Geelong Grammar from Geelong College. And then it would be Canberra Grammar over in lane 2 in third position. That's the crew of Thomas Hart, Darcy Anderson, William Hurst, Tom Smethurst, coxed by Riley Tanton, coached by Paul Blanchfield and Edward Trelaw. And only 2 or 3 seconds separating those top 3 crews, and even less than back to Newington in 4th place, narrowly from Mossman 5th, Xavier College from Melbourne in 6th place, Toowong in 7th, and Sydney Boys High were in 8th place after the first 500 metres, but they're about to go through the 1,000-metre mark now, and it is still Geelong Grammar, our race leaders from Geelong College, and barely any change in that margin at all. In fact, it was 2.25 seconds after 500 metres, now 2.23 at the 1,000-metre mark. So Geelong Grammar in 3:19.73. Geelong College still effectively 2.25 seconds back behind them. And Newington it is, who've moved up now into third place, 0.68 of a second away from Geelong College, and about 2 seconds to the good of Toowong in 4th place. Canberra Grammar, who were running third after 500, now back narrowly into 5th place, only half a second away from 4th. Xavier still 6th. Mossman back in 7th place, and Sydney Boys High in 8th position. So around about 750 metres to race now, and still it is Geelong Grammar in lane 4. The race leaders here from Geelong College in lane 6, and in between them in 5, it is the Newington School from Sydney holding down that third position now. So it's lanes 4, 5 and 6. Back to the action being in the centre of the course in this race. And Toowong over in lane 1. The other crew possibly still a chance to make a late charge for a medal, along with Canberra Grammar alongside them in lane 2 as well. Certainly Geelong Grammar look to have maintained their margin now as they head up towards the 1,500 metre mark. Geelong Grammar, the crew, in lane 4, and possibly Newington lane 5, about to overtake Geelong College in the race for the silver medal as well, as they go through 1,500 now, and is about 2/3 of a length from first to third, in fact, as they pass through that timing point. It was Geelong Grammar still first. The margin's been cut back to just over 1 second now. Geelong Grammar in 5:04.59. And Geelong College just 1.13 back in second place. And Newington 27 hundredths of a second further behind them in third. So becoming very interesting between our three potential medalists, with about 400 metres now to race. Lanes 4, 5 and 6 in the final of the under-19 men's Coxed 4. Over then to the far side of the course, Toowong still there in fourth place. Hess, Pincus, Harp and Game and Halley, the Toowong crew. Ahead of lane 3, Xavier. Lane 2, Canberra Grammar, still there as well. But our medalists look to be well clear. The three crews in lanes 4, 5 and 6. And very hard to separate them as they come inside the closing strokes. Just over 200 metres to race. Geelong Grammar, lane 4, have led this race from the first timing check, but Newington have moved through very strongly in the middle stages and have certainly gone past Geelong College on this side as well, but still virtually a line of 3 as they approach the finish of the under-19 men's Cox 4. Newington lane 5, probably just the fastest moving of these three crews ahead of the two Geelong combinations, but Geelong Grammar are fighting back. They've led this race virtually from the start. Those two just slightly to the good of Geelong College on the grandstand side, but still Newington, Potter, Nichols, Sear, Crouch and Nicholas in the centre of the course with a canvas or so from both Geelong Grammar and Geelong College. Geelong Grammar are coming again in the final strokes, but Newington still just in front, and Newington lane 5 will take out the under-19 Cox 4. Geelong Grammar second, Geelong College third. Half a length between those top three crews as they cross the line. Toowong fourth over on the far side of the course. Then fifth will go to lane 3, Xavier, just ahead of lane 7, Mossman, followed home by Canberra Grammar and also Sydney Boys High on this side of the course.
The unofficial result of race 339, the under-19 men's Coxed 4. First, Newington. Second, Geelong Grammar. Third, Geelong College. Fourth, Toowong. Fifth, Xavier. Mossman in sixth. Seventh, Canberra Grammar. And eighth, Sydney Boys High. The presentation of the medals for the Under-19 Men's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Nicholas Gall, CEO, Rowing Victoria. In third place and bronze medalists, Launceston College. Matthew Dickenberg, Connor Ryan, Jack Barrett, Lars Gillingham, coached by Trevor Barrett. Second, and our silver medalists, Toowong Rowing Club. Jethro Gifford, Tom Williamson, Matthew Reedy, and Chris Thompson. Coached by Kieran Dwyer, Alex Field, and Paul Pettigrew. And our gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017. the composite of Mercantile, Haileybury and Melbourne University. Benjamin Keller, Ethan McCoach, Roland Crantock, Maximilian Hanna. Coaches, Richard Van der Hooydonk and John Saunders. Please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists.
We now have race number 340 on the programme, the final of the under-23 women's double scull. In lane 2, UTS. In lane 3, Adelaide University and Sydney University composite of Triggs and Pado. In lane 4, University of Queensland. In lane 5, University of Queensland and Sydney University composite of Meredith and Cronin. In lane 6, a Melbourne Mercantile composite of Bateman and Thompson. In lane 7, Mercantile Adelaide University composite of Terrell and Duggan. And in lane 8, Buckingham.
And favourites for this, the crew out of lane number 5, Rowena Meredith of Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre, and Caitlin Cronin of the University of Queensland Boat Club and the National Training Centre. And they've gotten out very, very well indeed as they move through about 750 metres covered. Meredith taking out the single scull yesterday, Caitlin Cronin second in that event. And those two have moved out to some clear water over the rest of the field. Through that first 500, it was the University of Queensland in second spot. That's the combination of Eloise Parker and Lily Alton, and then Melbourne University or Melbourne Rowing Club and Mercantile, Rhea Thompson and Amanda Bateman were in third place, and they're starting to make their way up towards the 1,000-metre mark, and the field has that arrowhead formation being led by the crew in the centre. University of Queensland and Sydney University, Meredith and Cronin. Dropping back on either side of the course, UTS, Guinness and O'Gorman, and Buckingham, Anderson and Crow. And as the metres are progressing, the potential medalists are starting to thin out a little bit. We've also seen the Mercantile Adelaide University crew, Peter Terrell and Kate Duggan, get dropped in this second 500 metres. So coming through the 1,000-metre mark, it was the University of Queensland Sydney University Boat Club crew leading in 3:37.37, and they've got a handy 5-second advantage over the University of Queensland's Eloise Parker and Lily Alton. And then back to Melbourne Rowing Club and Mercantile, Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson, and then a further 4 seconds back to the Adelaide University Sydney University composite crew of Laura Triggs and Phoebe Paddo, coached by Alfie Young and Jason Lane. So they're the top 4 crews in this 7-crew final of the under-23 women's double scull. The others have quite a bit of work to do if they're trying to feature in the hunt for the medals. But at the moment, as we get in towards the 1,350 metre mark. It is Rowena Meredith and Caitlin Cronin of Sydney University and University of Queensland Boat Club, both National Training Centre athletes. Rowena Meredith, a World Under-23 champion in the women's quad scull. And continuing on her great rise in the sport. I think it was a mid-740s time in the single scull yesterday, and they certainly weren't fast conditions. So she's having a very, very good season. Caitlin Cronin was just a few lengths behind her there. So the wind starts to howl through a little bit and taking the temperature down a few degrees, but great to see the sun out after a massively wet day yesterday. So 32 strokes a minute from the leading crew, Sydney University, University of Queensland, Meredith and Cronin, and Amanda Bateman and Rhea Thompson have had a very good third 500 metres as they've really pushed through and taken a huge chunk out of the University of Queensland QAS crew and moved up into second spot. They put a whopping 4.5 seconds into them in the third 500 metres, and that's after taking through the deficit. So they are the big movers in this race in second spot. They're coached by Simon Gadsden and David Orchard, and receive assistance from the Victorian Institute of Sport. So they're the top two crews. University of Queensland are in third, and Triggs and Paddo from Adelaide University, Phoebe Paddo and Laura Triggs from Sydney University are in fourth spot. And a couple of lengths behind the University of Queensland crew. In fifth, we have UTS over on the far side, Adelaide Guinness and Kate O'Gorman, and then followed by Peter Terrell and Kate Duggan of Mercantile, and Adelaide University and Anderson and Crow of Buckingham well back in seventh position. So crosshead breeze here, making it a bit of a slog down the 2,000 metre course. But Rowena Meredith in the bow seat, Caitlin Cronin in the stroke seat, and they've got a tremendous lead as they come into the last 100 metres over Melbourne and Mercantile, and then the University of Queensland are in third spot and still holding on. They had a couple of lengths over Laura Triggs and Phoebe Paddo, and that's now come down to about a length and a half. But the stretch of water in which to reel them in may be too short for the Adelaide University, Sydney University composite crew, who are currently in fourth place. But a nice win there. Rowena Meredith takes out the double. Her partner, Caitlin Cronin, after winning the single scull yesterday. Second to Rhea Thompson and Amanda Bateman of Melbourne Rowing Club and Mercantile. Third will be the University of Queensland, Eloise Parker and Lily Alton. Fourth place to Laura Triggs and Phoebe Paddo, SUBC and Adelaide University. UTS, fifth. Sixth will be Mercantile, Adelaide University, and Tasmania's Buckingham Rowing Club will play seventh.
The unofficial results of race number 340, the final of the Under-23 Women's Double Scull. A win for the University of Queensland, Sydney University composite of Meredith and Cronin. Second, the Melbourne Mercantile composite of Bateman and Thompson. Third, University of Queensland, Parker and Alton. In fourth position, Adelaide University, Sydney University composite of Triggs and Pardo. In fifth, UTS. In sixth, Mercantile Adelaide University composite of Terrell and Duggan. And in seventh, Buckingham. Provisional time for that race, 7 minutes 19.94 seconds. The margins 10.75 and 7.89. The presentation of medals for the Under-19 Men's Coxed 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Nick Gall, CEO of Rowing Victoria. Third place and bronze medalists, the Geelong College. Ian Bell. Jack Thornton. Oscar Maloney. Lachlan Sutherland. Their cocks, Edwina Dury. The crew was coached by Andrew Cleary. Second place and silver medalists, Geelong Grammar School. Daniel White. Oliver Arter. Oscar McLaughlin. James Heath. Their cocks, Jemima Jameson. The crew was coached by Arun Trimul. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, Newington College. Alexander Potter. Alex Nichol. Richmond Sear. Harry Crouch. Their cocks, Charlie Nicholas. The crew was coached by Richard Wern and Richard Roach. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the under-19 men's coxed four. The final of the under-23 men's double scull is now in progress. In lane 1, Pine Rivers. In lane 2, Mercantile. In lane 3, Toowong. In lane 4, a composite of Fremantle and University of WA, Pensini and Armstrong. In lane 5, ANU Tamar composite of Ewell and Anthill. In lane 6, Adelaide University Swan River composite of Marsh and Langsford. In lane 7, Griffith University Surfers Paradise composite and Tamar composite of Mackenzie and Free. And in lane 8, the University of Western Australia.
And the favourites in this one, Australian National University and Tamar. Henry Ewell, who was third in the single scull yesterday, and Caleb Anthill, who took out the under-23 single scull yesterday. They're coached by Andrew Randell, Brett Crow and Renee Domichens, and they're leading as they head through the 1,000-metre mark in just under 3 minutes 20, just 1.61 seconds back to Marsh and Langsford. Sam Marsh of Swan River and Hugo Langsford of Adelaide University is having a great season, and they're coached by Antonio Maragiovanni and Jason Lane, and then followed by the Fremantle and University of Western Australia crew, Pensini and Armstrong. 4th Mercantile, 5th Toowong, 6th Griffith University Surfers Paradise composite, and then followed by the University of Western Australia, and then a long way back to Pine Rivers over on the far side of the course. So one of the fortunate things to come out of the Cyclone Debbie in Queensland is it looks as though Lake Kawongabar for the Pine Rivers Club may well start to fill up with water once more, and that'll be great for the Pine Rivers crew over in lane number 1, Matthew Bulk and Henry Borger, but they're struggling with the pace that is being set here by Henry Ewell and Caleb Anthill of the ANU Tamar combination, and they've got some clear water over the rest of the field. Fraser Pensini, who have seen very, very good sweep oarsman. He's got a twin brother. They rode the pair last year. They're identical twins. I can't tell them apart. And he's there with Willis Armstrong of Fremantle here in the double scull, so proving he's very, very handy with a couple of oars in hand. And they're going out in pursuit of Sam Marsh and Hugo Langsford, who are currently holding down a second spot. Fourth is the Mercantile crew, Alexander Kinsella and James Hoban, coached by David Colvin and David Pincus. And they have, in turn, a little bit of clear water back to Toowong, Davidson and Johnston in fifth position. So coming through the 1,500 metre mark and just over 4 seconds advantage in favour of the ANU Tamar crew and Fremantle have cut that gap down to 1.12 seconds. So certainly plenty to play for in the medal positions here. But a good advantage to be held by Yule and Antill of Tamar and the Australian National University Boat Club. Caleb Antill undefeated in international competition. He was part of the successful under-23 men's quad at the World Under-23 Championships last year with Tom Schramko, Luke Letcher and Rob Black. And he's here with Henry Yule, a very, very talented Tasmanian from the Tamar Club. And they're still holding on to their sizable advantage. And it is Sam Marsh and Hugo Langsford in second spot, who in turn still just trying to get a little bit of separation between themselves and the Fremantle University of Western Australian crew of Pensini and Armstrong in third place. That's where the medals are going to go to, these three crews. Mercantile are comfortable in fourth. Toowong likewise in fifth. And then Mackenzie and Free of Griffith University Service Paradise Tamar are set for sixth. Seventh, University of Western Australia, Vackle and Jashke. And then Pine Rivers are a long, long way back in eighth position. So Henry Yule in the bow seat, Caleb Antill in the stroke seat. And they've led it from the get-go. And they'll be national champions in the under-23 men's double scull. As Caleb Antill takes out the single and the double scull. They do well to keep that boat still afloat as they're celebrating. Second goes to Sam Marsh and Hugo Langsford of Swan River and Adelaide University. Fraser Pensini and Willis Armstrong of UWA and Fremantle claim the bronze medal. Mercantile fourth. Fifth Toowong, then followed by Tamar Griffith University. UWA BC in seventh. And Pine Rivers over on the far side in eighth.
Unofficial results of our final of the under-23 men's double scull. A win for Henry Yule of Tamar and Caleb Antill of the ANU. In second, the composite of Sam Marsh from Swan River Rowing Club and Hugo Langsford from Adelaide University. And the bronze medal to Fraser Pensini of the University of WA and Willis Armstrong from Fremantle. In fourth position, Mercantile. In fifth, Toowong. In sixth, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise Tamar Composite. In seventh, University of Western Australia. And in eighth, Pine Rivers. Unofficial time for that race, 6 minutes, 46.28 seconds. The margins 6.33 and 2.1. The presentation of medals for the Under-23 Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Ray Ebbert, Rowing Queensland Counsellor to Rowing Australia and Olympic Team Manager. Third place and bronze medalists, the University of Queensland Boat Club and Queensland Academy of Sport. Eloise Parker. Lily Alton. The crew was coached by Ned Drayden. Second place and silver medalists, Melbourne and Mercantile Rowing Clubs and the VIS. Amanda Bateman from Mercantile Rowing Club. Ria Thompson from Melbourne Rowing Club. The crew was coached by Simon Gadsden and David Orchard. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, the University of Queensland Boat Club, Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre. Caitlin Cronin from the University of Queensland Boat Club. Rowena Meredith from Sydney University Boat Club. The crew was coached by Alfie Young and Ned Drayden. Please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the Under-23 Women's Double Scull. We now move to the final of the Under-21 Women's Double Scull. Current title holders are UTS, and they're not in the race today. In lane 1, we have Brisbane and GPS. In lane 2, ANU and the ACT Academy of Sport. In lane 3, Mossman Rowing Club. In lane 4, Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. In lane 5, Mersey. In lane 6, Mercantile. In lane 7, Adelaide University. And in lane 8, Lindisfarne.
So no composites racing here in the Under-21. There are straight club crews that are contesting the Under-21 events at the Australian Rowing Championships. And Harriet Hudson there in the Sydney Rowing Club, New South Wales Institute of Sport crew with Romy Davenport. Harriet Hudson 4th in the Under-23 single scull. She represented Australia in the World Junior Championships last year in the single scull, placing 6th in the final. And that combination is coached by Lachlan Carter out of lane at number 4, and certainly one to watch. Mossman's Grace Galloway was 4th in the Under-21 single scull. Frederica Gibbs, also in that boat, was 3rd in the Under-21 single scull yesterday. They're coached by Judith Ungermark, who coached the Australian Junior Quad Scull last year. And Mersey's Madeline Tippett and Hannah Tippett in lane number 5, coached by Merv Tippett and David Tippett. Also a crew to watch, likewise, Mercantile, Michaela Ballas and Gemma Sibyllin out of lane number 6. Those two were finalists in the U21 single scull yesterday morning. So pretty heavy conditions as this cross breeze becomes more of a head breeze. And giving these crews plenty to plough their way into as they head down the course. Through that first 500, it was the Sydney Rowing Club crew, Davenport and Hudson, that were leading from Adelaide University, Celia Cowan and Talia Jones. And then the ACT Academy of Sport ANU crew of Larkin and Roberts were 3rd, followed by Ballas and Sibyllin. Galloway and Gibbs of Mossman were next. But they're starting to make their way up towards the 900 metre mark, and Sydney Rowing Club still looking very strong at the head of the field here in this women's Under-21 double scull. Coached by Lachlan Carter, who was part of his first national team last year in coaching the Australian Junior Men's Quad Scull, and one of a group of coaches at a very strong Sydney Rowing Club program over the last few years. And they're leading through the halfway mark from the Australian National University ACTAS crew, Sarah Larkin and Gilly Roberts, coached by Renee Domashens over in lane at number 2. And they've managed to put Mossman under a bit of pressure. And Mersey are also feeling a little bit, and they're back in 6th position. Adelaide University, Celia Cowan and Talia Jones out of lane number 7, 2nd from this side of the course, having a very good row in that first 1,000 metres. They're coached by the journeyman of South Australian rowing, Darren Potts, Brinley Millwood, and also Brenton Terrelly, head coach of Adelaide University Boat Club. So 1,250 metres gone, and Sydney Rowing Club and the ANU crew have started to move out to some clear water over the rest of this field. Mossman having a good third 500 metres. As they tussle with Mercantile, Mersey and the Adelaide University combination out of lane number 7 in that race to see if they can get on the medal presentation pontoon. Brisbane and GPS are well out of it over on the far side of the course. Maddie Thornton and Rachel Slatter, coached by Courtney Talbot. And likewise, Lily Reardon and Annika Reardon of Lindisfarne just losing a little bit of touch out of lane number 8 with the leading group of 6 crews, which remain in medal contention here as they come up towards the 1,500 metre mark. And the ANU, Australian Capital Territory Academy of Sport, Sarah Larkin and Gilly Roberts hanging on doggedly to the Sydney Rowing Club crew as they pass through the 1,500 metre mark. It's only a length and a half separating those two as they head into the last 500 metres. And it is Mossman Rowing Club that have had a very good third 500 metres. And they've moved up another placing once more. So that is Grace Galloway and Frederica Gibbs. Frederica Gibbs only a month ago just moved across to, or probably 6 weeks ago now, moved across to Mossman from Leichhardt Rowing Club, and the successes followed. Bronze medal in the single scull at Nationals, bronze medal in the single scull at New South Wales State Championships, and prior to that, her performances certainly did indicate she was on that sort of trajectory, so it's been certainly a move that has worked for her with Judith Ungermark. And they're in third spot and enjoying a bit of an advantage over the Adelaide University crew. So further 6 seconds separating third from fourth as Adelaide University continue to lead the crews in lanes 6 and 5, Mercantile and Mersey, although Mercantile just starting to put some pressure on them as they come up towards the 1,750 metre mark. Likewise, Mersey starting to put their bow ball alongside that of Adelaide University. So a good race going on for 4th, 5th and 6th. But Sydney Rowing Club are well clear of all of that. 130 metres they still have left to cover. Romy Davenport, who was originally selected in the Australian Junior Quad Scull last year, and then a rib injury stopped her from heading overseas with that crew. And Harriet Hudson in the stroke seat. And they're set to take out the under-21 women's double scull. They're coached by Lachlan Carter. And it's a nice win to them. Good performance from Sarah Larkin and Gilly Roberts of ANU and the Australian Capital Territory Academy of Sport. They claim the silver medal, a couple of boat lengths in arrears, and then a further 2.5 lengths back to Grace Galloway and Frederica Gibbs of Mossman will be the bronze medalists. Mersey and Mercantile are going stroke for 4th place. They've managed to push right ahead of Adelaide University, and it is Mercantile that just edge out the Devonport-based Mersey club for 4th and 5th places respectively. 6th goes to Adelaide University, 7th to Lindisfarne, and Brisbane and GPS will place 8th.
The results of the final of the under-21 women's double scull was a win for Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport, Davenport and Hudson. Second, ANU and the ACT Academy of Sport crew of Larkin and Roberts. Third, Mossman Rowing Club, Galloway and Gibbs. In 4th position, Mercantile. In 5th, Mersey. In 6th, Adelaide University. In 7th, Lindisfarne. In 8th, Brisbane and GPS. Provisional time for that race, 7 minutes 42.14 seconds. The margins 5.48 and 6.7. The presentation of medals for the Under-23 Men's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Ray Ebbert, Rowing Queensland Councillor to Rowing Australia and Olympic Team Manager. Third place and bronze medalists, Fremantle Rowing Club and the University of WA Boat Club. Fraser Pensini from the University of WA Boat Club and the WA Institute of Sport, and Willis Armstrong from Fremantle Rowing Club. Second place and silver medalists, Adelaide University Boat Club and Swan River Rowing Club. Sam Marsh from Swan River Rowing Club and the WA Institute of Sport. Hugo Langsford from Australian University Boat Club and the South Australian Sports Institute. The crew was coached by Antonio Moro Giovanni and Jason Lane. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, the ANU and Tamar. Henry Yule from Tamar Rowing Club and the Tasmanian Institute of Sport. Caleb Antill from ANU and the National Training Centre. The crew was coached by Andrew Randall, Brett Crow and Renee Domichens. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the under-23 men's double scull.
So just in regards to the under-19 women's coxless four, there was an underweight boat in one of the medal positions. So Griffith University Surfers Paradise, their boat was underweight by about 600 grams. So they have been relegated to 8th place in that final, and Sydney Lower Clarence have been moved to the bronze medal position. So that's the crew of Lauren Lyon, Crystal Piper, Tessa Mapplebeck and Georgia Bradley. If we could have those girls or a representative of Sydney and or Lower Clarence clubs to see Michael Eastoff in the finish tower, that'd be greatly appreciated. So that's the under-19 women's coxless four. Sydney Lower Clarence have been moved to 3rd place as a result of Griffith University Surfers Paradise boat being underweight by about 600 grams.
We have the final now for the under-21 men's double scull. In lane 1, Sydney Rowing Club. In lane 2, Western Australia Rowing Club. In lane 3, Swan River. In lane 4, Capital Lakes and the ACT Academy of Sport. In lane 5, Sydney University. In lane 6, the University of Queensland. In lane 7, North Esk, and in lane 8, the Sydney University crew of Brooking and Kemp. Lane 6 is the Sydney University crew of Walsh and Wheatley.
And Swan River leading through the halfway mark, 3:22.46. That's the crew of Holiday and Latham as they lead Walsh and Wheatley of Sydney University Boat Club. The early race leaders through the 500 was West Australian Rowing Club. They're back in 3rd spot, a further 1.16 seconds. And Capital Lakes, Actas, Kennedy and Greskoviak for the 0.7 seconds back in 4th place. Sydney are 5th, North Esk 6th, University of Queensland 7th, and Brooking and Kemp on this side of the course for Sydney University in 8th position. So very good race going on in the centre of the course and also towards the far side of the course with Swan River 3rd from the far side. We're leading at the halfway mark, and Sydney University Boat Club, Devlin Walsh and Charles Wheatley have had a very, very strong 250 metres from the halfway mark to the 1250 as they're really starting to push, and it looks as though they've pushed ahead of Swan River's Solomon Holiday and David Latham. Devlin Walsh, bronze medalist in the under-21 men's single scull. Charles Wheatley, a gold medalist in the under-21 men's single scull. They're coached by Dustin Butler, the director of rowing at Sydney University Boat Club, and Don McLaughlin, the head coach at Sydney University Boat Club. In second spot, Swan River, and they're now starting to get some challenges coming from Capital Lakes Actas. That's Nathan Kennedy and Alex Grezkoviak, and also West Australian Rowing Club, who started off so well, obviously showing that they've got they're a pretty powerful crew, so you'd expect them, if they can start off well, they can also finish off pretty well as well. That's Oscar Winter, who was silver medalist in the under-21 single, and Jonathan Ashby. They're coached by Joe Tamigi, who's brought across a very, very strong contingent from West Australian Rowing Club this year. They're in the Cardinal colours, second from the far side of the course. And those top four crews appear to be where the medals will come from. And Sydney University have been very, very strong. And they moved into the lead. They had 4.23 seconds over Swan River as the advantage at the 1,500 metre mark. And bear in mind, they were behind at the 1,000. So that's massive to take a couple of lengths out of a very strong crew here in 500 metres. And a very good race going on for the minor medals, with Capital Lakes and the ACT Academy of Sport just moving up alongside Swan River, and West Australian Rowing Club sitting a further length back in fourth place. Over on the far side of the course, McCarthy and Giles of Sydney are next. Then follows University of Queensland, who are in a tussle with North-Est, perhaps North-Est with their bow in front by about a canvas. And in eighth place, Sydney University, Brooking and Kemp, and they look destined to claim eighth in this final. But the head of the field, Devlin Walsh and Charles Wheatley. Wheatley looking to make it the double, having taken out the single, and well on the way to taking out the double. Just 60 metres left to cover. And Sydney University Boat Club, founded in 1860. And they went 10 and a half years without a boat shed at Lindley Point after an arson attack in 2006. And that's recently been reopened, and they're having great success here at these championships, and they take out the under-21 men's double scull. Capital Lakes, Actas, get the silver medal. Bronze medal going to Swan River. Fourth to West Australian Rowing Club. Fifth to Sydney Rowing Club. And they'll be followed by University of Queensland Boat Club, North-Est, and Sydney University's Brooking and Kemp in eighth.
The results of race number 343, the final of the under-21 men's double scull, was a win for Sydney University Boat Club, Walsh and Wheatley. Second, Capital Lakes Rowing Club and the ACT Academy of Sport, Kennedy and Grezkoviak. And third, Swan River, Holiday and Latham. Fourth, West Australian Rowing Club. Fifth, Sydney Rowing Club. Sixth, University of Queensland. Seventh, North-Est. Eighth, Sydney University Boat Club. Provisional time for that race, 6 minutes, 54.77 seconds. The margins 5.18 and 2.59. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Daniel Tackenberg, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Western Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, Mossman Rowing Club. Grace Galloway. Frederica Gibbs. The crew was coached by Judith Ungemach. Second place and silver medalists, the Australian National University and ACT Academy of Sport. Sarah Larkin. Jilly Roberts. The crew was coached by Renee Domichens. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, Sydney Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. Romola Davenport, Harriet Hudson. The crew was coached by Lachlan Carter and Donovan Check. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the Under-21 Women's Double Scull. We now move to sweep rowing and the final of the Under-23 Women's Coxless 4. In lane 3, a composite of the University of Queensland and Melbourne University. In lane 4, a composite of Melbourne University Boat Club and Mercantile Rowing Club. In lane 5, a composite of the University of Queensland, University of Western Australia, Fremantle and Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. In lane 6, a composite of UTS and Mercantile, and in lane 7, a composite of Swan River and Mossman.
And the favourites in the centre of the field of 5, the crew in lane 5, University of Queensland, University of Western Australia, Fremantle and Griffith University Surfers Paradise, combined with the Queensland Academy of Sport, West Australian Institute of Sport and the Victorian Institute of Sport. That's Hedda Cooper and Ellen Potsy, who were bronze medalists in the Under-23 women's pair, and Annabelle McIntyre and Bronwyn Cox, who were gold medalists in the Under-23 pair. So they'll be the favourites for this one out of lane number 5. The silver medalists from the pair are in lane number 4, Elise Frenetic and India Dempsey. They combine with Jacqueline Hart and Annika Hoffman. And we saw Hoffman have a very good year last year in the single scull and has now moved to sweep rowing this year and going quite well, she moved from the Barwon Club to Melbourne University Boat Club. And they're coached by Annabelle Eaton and the crew also coached by Simon Gadsden. And they moved through the first 500 and it was the favoured crew out of lane number 5 with Ellen Potsy in the stroke seat that were leading in 1:42.47, just narrowly over the crew in lane number 4. That's the Annika Hoffman stroke crew that we were just talking about, just 0.23 of a second back. In third place, University of Queensland, Melbourne University over on the far side, 4th UTS Mercantile, and 5th is the Swan River Mossman crew on this side of the course, who have just started to drop back a little bit and drop out of contention as they move up towards the 900 metre mark. In the crew in lane number 6, the UTS composite, Lara Wainwright and Grace Reid, who won the Under-21 pair, so they're stepping up an age category here and combining with Georgia Stewart and Emma Fessy. Stewart of Mercantile, Fessy of UTS, and that crew coached by Dave Geely, Tim McLaren and Simon Gadsden. And heading up towards the 1,000 metre mark, and only half a length the advantage being held by Hedda Cooper, Annabelle McIntyre, Bronwyn Cox and Ellen Potsy. From the crew alongside of them, Hart, Frenetic, Dempsey and Hoffman. And then Ferris Drenth, Zakelli and Ferris on the far side of the course in third spot. And further 4.87 seconds back to UTS Mercantile in 4th. And Swan River Mossman are well back in 5th position. So a great race going on at the head of the field. And those two pair combinations that were on the podium, Cooper and Potsy and McIntyre and Cox, certainly not having it all their own way here as they make their way up towards the 1,250 metre mark, and challenges certainly coming from the young crew on the far side. Tyler Ferris, Kelly Drenth, Claudia Zakelli and Miller Ferris, and also the crew alongside of them, Hart, Frenetic, Dempsey and Hoffman. So 32 strokes a minute. The crew of Hedda Cooper, Annabelle McIntyre, Bronwyn Cox and Ellen Potsy, as they're still maintaining the advantage. We've had another little push here in this 250 metres to take him up towards the 1500 metre mark, and they're trying to really shake off the Melbourne University Mercantile crew alongside them. They're a point higher at 33.5 strokes a minute in second spot. And the gaps are just starting to increase a little bit. So through the 1500 metre mark, and it's sitting at 3/4 of a boat length in favour of University of Queensland, University of WA, Fremantle and Griffith University Surfers Paradise over Melbourne University Mercantile in second spot, and University of Queensland, Melbourne University also a further boat length back in third spot. On the far side of the course, and that looks like where the medals will come from. Nearly another 9 seconds back to UTS in fourth spot, and Swan River Mossman well back in fifth position. So rating has come up now in the University of Queensland, UWA, Fremantle, Griffith University Service Paradise crew. They've gone up to 35 now as they head into the last 200 metres. And still just holding over a boat length on the Melbourne University Mercantile crew in second spot. So the leading boat boated with Ellen Potsy in the bow seat, Hedda Cooper in the 2 seat, in the 3 seat, Annabelle McIntyre of Fremantle in the stroke seat, Bronwyn Cox of the University of Western Australia Boat Club. And they're still holding a boat length advantage and a touch more to the Mercantile Melbourne University crew. And it will be a gold medal to the composite crew from Griffith University Service Paradise, University of Queensland, Fremantle and UWA. Silver medal to Mercantile Mossman. And then the best part of 2 boat lengths back to University of Queensland, Melbourne University, who claimed the bronze medal, 4th to UTS Mercantile and 5th to Swan River Mossman.
The results of that final of the Under-23 Women's Coxless 4, a win for the University of Queensland Composite. Second, the Melbourne University Mercantile Composite. Third, the University of Queensland Melbourne University Composite. Fourth, the UTS Mercantile Composite. And fifth, Swan River Mossman. Unofficial time 7 minutes 1.34 seconds. The margins 3.51 and 4.42. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Men's Double Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Daniel Tackenberg, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing Western Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, Swan River Rowing Club. Solomon Holiday. David Latham. The crew was coached by David Rich and Antonio Morogiovanni. Second place and silver medalists, Capital Lakes Rowing Club and the ACT Academy of Sport. Nathan Kennedy. Alex Greskoviak. The crew was coached by Renee Domashens and Andrew Randall. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, Sydney University Boat Club. Devlin Walsh. Charles Wheatley. The crew was coached by Dustin Butler and Don McLaughlin. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the under-21 men's double scull. The final of the under-23 men's Coxless 4 is now in progress. In lane 3, a composite from Adelaide and Adelaide University of Deans, Grant, Courts and Santin. In lane 4, a Sydney, Mossman and Mercantile composite of Donald, Black, Barnes and Patterson. In lane 5, a University of Queensland Toowong composite of Apel, Pettigrew, Backer and Moore. In lane 6, a Melbourne University Mercantile composite of De Graaf, Lawrence, Burke and McCann. And in lane 7, a Banks and UTS composite of Teelan, Stubbs, Wheeler and Sanders.
And through 500 metres, it's the Sydney composite crew that leads there. Liam Donald, Robert Black, Thomas Barnes and Charlie Patterson, Donovan Check and Simon Gadsden coaching the crew. Rob Black, although a member of Mossman, based in Victoria these days, and rowing with Liam Donald. Just 0.68 clear of the University of Queensland Toowong composite crew of Elliot Appel of Toowong QAS, Nick Pettigrew Toowong QAS, Adam Backer and Harley Moore, both UQBC QAS, and a cruise coach by Ben Southwell. And followed the Adelaide University composite crew in Station 3, Jack Deans, Kane Grant, Jack Cords and Tim Satin, coached by Jason Lane, who's in mourning today with the loss of Collingwood last night. And then follows Melbourne University and Banks composite, but the Sydney composite crew has moved out now just a little further. 1.71 over the University of Queensland composite crew. And they in turn are 4.08 clear of the Adelaide composite crew. So no change in the order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sydney composite, Uni of Queensland Toowong, Adelaide Uni, Melbourne Uni Mercs and Banks UTS. Beautiful day out the window today after yesterday's stormy, very wet conditions. And the course looking in terrific condition. A bit of a breeze up, but much cooler, much more comfortable for racing than it has been the last couple of days as the Sydney crew continues to lead. The Sydney Composite N-Swiss VIS crew over the University of Queensland Toowong QAS. So the Sydney Composite crew starting to move away now, stamping their authority on this event over the Composite Queensland crew in second place. In this, the under-23 men's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. So it's looking as though it's going to be an all-the-way win to this composite crew. Liam Donald of Merckx, Rob Black of Mossman, Thomas Barnes and Charlie Patterson of Sydney Rowing Club. As I've said, coached by Donovan Check and Simon Gadsden. And in second place, we've got the Toowong UQBC composite crew, Elliot Appel, Nick Pettigrew, Harley Moore and Adam Backer. And on the improve now, still the Adelaide composite crew on the far side, holding down third, then back to Melbourne Unicomp and Banks composite. But the three leading boats have cleared out on the other two, and the South Australian composite crew now coming at the Queensland composite crew. But a good win for the joint Victorian New South Wales composite crew. Lane 4 will be across the line first. Lane 5 will be second, UQBC Toowong. Third then, Lane 3, Adelaide Composite. Fourth will be Melbourne University and fifth will be Banks.
And the results of that final of the under-23 men's Coxless 4, a win for Sydney Mossman Mercantile Composite. Second, the University of Queensland and Toowong Composite. And third, Adelaide University Rowing Club Composite. Fourth, Melbourne University Mercantile. Fifth, Banks and UTS. Provisional time for that race, 6 minutes 14.52. The margins 3.24 and 0.49. The presentation of medals for the Under-23 Women's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Hutton, Chief Executive Officer of Rowing South Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, the University of Queensland Boat Club and Melbourne University Boat Club and the Queensland Academy of Sport. Tyler Ferris from the University of Queensland. Kelly Drenth from University of Queensland Boat Club. Claudia Zucchelli from Melbourne University Boat Club. Miller Ferris from the University of Queensland Boat Club. The crew is coached by Ned Drayden and Annabelle Eaton. Second place and silver medalists, the Melbourne University Boat Club and Mercantile, supported by the Victorian Institute of Sport. Jacqueline Hart from Melbourne University Boat Club. Elise Frenetic from Melbourne University Boat Club. India Dempsey from Mercantile. Annika Hoffman from Melbourne University Boat Club. The crew was coached by Annabelle Eaton and Simon Gadsden. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, the University of Queensland, University of Western Australia, Fremantle Rowing Club and Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. Hedda Cooper from Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and the Victorian Institute of Sport. Annabelle McIntyre from Fremantle Rowing Club. Bronwyn Cox from the University of WA Boat Club. and Ellen Posey from the University of Queensland Boat Club and the Queensland Academy of Sport. The crew was coached by Ned Drayden and Lincoln Handley. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the Under-23 Women's Coxless 4.